Hey, this is Isaac from the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. I'm an agent in the area. I want to make this video because I want to go over with you the steps from contract all the way to closing. I'm sure there's a lot of you that want to know what the whole process looks like from getting on the contract all the way through the closing table. So it doesn't matter where you are, in what state you are. Real estate is kind of similar in all of the states. There might be variances, and for example, some states require a deposit. Some states also an option fee or due diligence fee. Little differences, but as a whole, the real estate process is the same throughout the United States. So, and I want to apologize early on. I'm going to be, it's a lot of information that I'm going to be throwing your way, and just made some notes so that I can keep up and make sure that I give you the most information as possible and concise information so that you can learn with me. If you like the video, I want you to please share the video with your friends and families, and give me a like and click on that bell so you can get notifications for future videos that I make. So the first day, I'm getting on the contract, immediately your agent or you are going to send the information to your loan officer, right? So you would send the contract, a copy of the contract, a copy of all the addendums that come with the contract, a copy of the MLS, so that the mortgage consultant can see exactly what's going to be the real estate taxes, if there are any HOA fees. They're going to put that information in your file as well. And then one of the most important things is that you would want to submit a copy of the earnest money deposit or the deposit. Want to make sure that your lender gets a copy of it and make sure it's legible, because the underwriter could have a problem with it, and that's an unnecessary condition that you could get in the future. So be sure to send them a legible copy of each of those documents to make sure that the process is smooth and that they're not putting any conditions that you don't have to receive. The second day, base case scenarios that you want to inspect. You want to schedule the inspections by the second day of being on the contract. I personally always encourage my client to be present to any inspections. I want to make sure that my clients are present so that they can learn about the house, they can learn where the shut-off valve is for the water, so that they can learn where major components of the house is positioned, and also the inspector will give them some educational pieces there at the inspection as well. So that's why I always encourage each one of my buyers to attend that home inspection, because they can learn a lot from it. Confirm with your agent that all utilities are on. You want to make sure that all utilities are on, the water, the power. Want to make sure that the gas is on if the house has gas. The reason this is important is because if the inspector gets to the property and none of these utilities are on, the inspector is going to cancel the home inspection, because there's obviously certain things that they're not going to be able to assess, they're not going to be able to check. So you want to make sure that the inspection, those utilities are on. And then another thing is that you want to make sure that you update your file, right, with your loan officer. Want to make sure that you send your loan officer the most recent pay stubs, the most recent 30 days of pay stubs, the most recent month or 3, or if you're self-employed, they might ask as much as 12 months. It just depends on the lender that you're working with, but they'll tell you all the items that you need to send them, and make sure you send them all the items, because we want to make sure that you are getting you know, if you don't send them these items that they're asking for, is going to delay your process. So the faster you do it, the faster you send them the items that they're requesting, the faster it is that they're going to get you to the finish line. Day 3. By then, after you've provided the documents to your loan officer, they will send you typically a loan estimate. Make sure that loan estimate, you know, make sure that everything is on point with the rate. Really, the most important thing on there is going to be the rate and the term, either if it's a 15-year or a 30-year mortgage, because everything else is pretty much just estimates. They're fairly close estimates, but they can change and they can vary depending on the vendor that you use. So make sure you click on that intent to proceed. Then if you have any further items that you need to discuss with your loan officer as to different things that maybe you got to give them, make sure that you get that to them as soon as possible. By day 4, so hopefully by this day you will do your inspections. You've scheduled your inspections for this day, your home inspection, your termite inspection. If the house is on a well, or if the house is on a septic system, we want to make sure that you are scheduling those inspections as well. You know, the lender is not going to require a septic inspection or require a, depending if it's an FHA, they might ask for certain items, but if it's a conventional loan, they're more laxed. They're not going to ask you for inspection reports. So make sure that you are doing the inspections that are needed, because you want to make sure that your property is sound, and that the systems in your property, they're sound, and you're not going to have any hardships after you become the new owner of the house. You want to make sure that you identify the issue so that you can negotiate it with the seller. On day 5, by this, you want to have your homeowner's insurance. You want to contact your insurance agent. You want to have them give you a quote. I always recommend to each one of my clients to get at least 3 quotes. Start with the insurance company that you currently have for your homeowner's insurance or your car insurance. Then get 2 other quotes so that you can compare which one gives you the best rate, which one gives you the best coverage. By day 6, you want to make sure that you provide all the documents. I'm sure by this day, the mortgage consultant or the loan officer is going to have some conditions. It's very rare when a file goes through and has no conditions. But make sure you work with your loan officer. Make sure you work with your mortgage consultant to get those documents over to them, or those letters of explanations that they're asking for. Just get it to them as soon as possible so they can satisfy that condition and they can submit it back to underwriting. By day 7, you should hopefully by this day you should have a final loan approval, which means that the underwriter has gone over all your information, or your asset documents, or your income documents. They've gone over the contract. Everything is on point, and at this point they will give a conditional approval, and subject to an appraisal and subject to the title work being done. So right after this, your agent, by this point, you should already have your inspections back from the inspector. Then you sit with your agent. You discuss how you guys are going to handle anything that the inspector came up with. So if they come up with different repairs that are needed on the house, then obviously you and your agent are going to talk about how to deal with these. I'm not going to get into detail as to what is required for and how the conversation goes with the repairs. I'll do a separate video on that. But for today's sake, I'm just going to talk about, just want to make sure that by day 7th of being on the contract, that you've discussed with your agent and know and come up with a game plan for those repairs. Make sure that by this, that you provide the evidence of homeowner's insurance or the insurance binder. That is the evidence of insurance that the lender is going to request. This is going to be one of the conditions there. So make sure that you give this to your mortgage consultant as soon as you get it back from your insurance agent. By day 8th, you want to begin interviewing or vetting any contractors. If you guys, if you and the seller decided that if the seller came back and said that they weren't going to do any repairs, obviously if you want to proceed, you want to find out what these repairs are going to cost you once you're the new homeowner of the house. So by this day, you identify contractors, start vetting them, and try to get at least 3 contractors, because all of them are going to give you a separate quote. Right? Every company has their own way of charging. Every company has their own fees associated with the work that is required. By day 9th, you want to finalize with your agents the repair negotiations. At this point, once you have the exact numbers of what it's going to cost to repair from those contractors, you can go back to the table and start negotiating repairs with the seller. Hopefully, the seller is wanting to help you with some of the repairs. Sometimes the sellers accept the repairs, sometimes they don't want to do any repairs, but at that point, you will discuss with your agent and they'll tell you how to proceed, how best to proceed. By day 10, you want to make sure that by this day, typically you want to get that final approval. You want to make sure that you get that final loan approval that states that there's no issue with anything that they've gone over, and make sure that you are getting onto the finish line. And by day 11 to 12, you want to make sure that by this point you have that final loan approval. This is like the days that really are critical. Day 11, day 12, you want to have that final loan approval so that you can meet your target and closing date if it's a 30-day close. If it's a 45-day close on your contract, then it can be a little bit longer than this, but if it's a 30-day close, you want to have that done by day 11, 12. By day 13, you want to make sure that you review and address any outstanding lender conditions. So if there's anything that has to do with title or homeowner's insurance, binder, you want to make sure that you get with your mortgage consultant. You want to make sure that you address these as soon as possible. And then by day 14 to 15, if there's any flood insurance that's required on the property, if it is within the 100-year plain, and it's considered a flood zone, the lender will require to get some flood insurance, and this comes from the government. You can't buy flood insurance from an insurance company. It has to be directly from a company. It can be brokered by an insurance company, but it comes directly from the government. So you want to make sure that you're getting quotes on that, because that can affect your affordability. Flood insurance can be expensive, and if you're right at the top of your qualification, of your pre-approval, this could hurt you. So you want to make sure that you know exactly how much it's going to cost you for the flood insurance. Then you want to address and upload any of the pending lending conditions. You want to make sure you upload and evidence of anything that they're asking for and giving it to your mortgage consultant as fast as possible. You should have received your mortgage commitment letter by day 14-15. And this mortgage commitment letter is very important, because this is really what is going to say that they're going to lend. They've reviewed all the information, they've reviewed everything, and they're going to lend on it. So you want to make sure that you have a mortgage commitment by day 14, 15. On day 16th, if the seller negotiated repairs, you want to make sure if the seller is doing some of the repairs, you want to make sure that after they complete the repairs, they let you know so you can do a re-inspection. It's important to do a re-inspection because you don't know who the seller used to do these repairs. You don't know if they used their cousin, so you want to make sure that they're using the work was done in a work-like manner, and make sure that it was done according to code and standard as well. So that's why it's very important to do a re-inspection, because I've been to properties where the seller did the repairs, but they used somebody that was not licensed, and the work wasn't done properly. And the inspector caught it, and then we were able to go back to the negotiating table and then get the seller to do the repairs the right way. So hopefully nothing has changed in anything. Hopefully there's no change of circumstances with your loan, because if there is, it can trigger the loan estimate to be submitted again, and you don't want that, because then that could extend your timeline. So you want to make sure that if there is a change of circumstance, that you know exactly how long the timeline is going to be extended. That way you can let the seller know. By day 17th, 18th, this is the last day to address any pending lender condition. So you want to make sure you get with your mortgage consultant and make sure that all of the conditions have been addressed. And if there's anything pending, to submit anything that they're asking for as soon as possible. You will receive a change of circumstance notice if the repair escrow or if there is any negotiated price change. So anything changes in the price, that can trigger a change of circumstance. If it triggers a change of circumstance, you could potentially, your timeline can be skewed there and extended. So you want to make sure that you understand that if anything changes with your price, your final price, that it can trigger that change of circumstance, elongating your timeline. By day 19th, you would want to receive the re-inspection, confirming that the repairs have been done satisfactory, and want to make sure that those repairs are done correctly. By day 22, you want to verify with your mortgage consultant that the loan is on pace to close on time. And why is this important? Because you want to make sure there's so many moving pieces with a mortgage and a mortgage loan. You want to make sure that you keep in communication with your mortgage consultant to make sure that you're going to be on track at closing on time. Then also by day 22, the settlement agent will verify with the lender's closer, so they're going to be collaborating with each other on the final numbers. So hopefully right after this, and making sure that we're closing on time. Settlement agent does not schedule closing typically until the final clear to close. So you want to make sure that get that final clear to close so that you can get onto the closing table. By day 23, you will receive the initial closing disclosure. So typically in the initial closing disclosure, it's the early stages of them communicating with each other on the final figures. But then once they're done with communicating with each other with the final figures, then they're going to trigger the actual closing disclosure, which is the one that you would sign at the closing table. By day 25th, you want to verify with your real estate agent that the seller repairs are completed and are on pace to be completed prior to the final walkthrough. Settlement agent verifies the scheduled closing date, time, and location. By day 26, you want to verify the mortgage consultant the loan is clear to close, and you receive that final closing disclosure with the amount that you need to bring to the closing table. So with the amount that you need to bring to the closing table, you want to make sure that it's certified funds, or if it's being wired, you want to make sure that you know the account to where to wire to from the from your bank to the attorney's office. By day 27th, you conduct a final property walkthrough. You want to make sure that you walk through the whole property before closing.